I'm your host, Suki. Welcome to I'mPossible Conversation, the conversation where ordinary people share their extraordinary life journeys. Today, hello.
Sorry, it seems to have crashed a little bit, Suki. I can
Oh,
hear right now.
fantastic. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can. Lovely.
Fantastic. So, how are you this morning? So
Perfect.
lovely outside.
Yeah, it is. It's quite nice. I'm excited to be here, so thanks for the opportunity.
You're welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. So, let's start. The Savvy Stoic.
Yeah.
Mhm. What's behind it?
So the Savvy Stoic it's my personal brand. It's something that
Mhm.
started this year. I've always been I've been interested in Stoicism since 2017. And for those who don't know what Stoicism is, it's an ancient philosophy that was founded in ancient Athens in the 3rd century BC. And it's all about separating what you control from what you don't control. There's a lot more to it, but that's a basic principle of Stoicism. And the Savvy Stoic it's where I share my thoughts on Stoicism. It's going to be a YouTube channel next year, so that's a passion project that I have. It's something I've wanted to do for so long, and I'm really excited because I've done quite a few interviews this year, and that was something that I never believed I could do, and I'm starting to believe in myself a lot more, and I know that I'm going to set up a YouTube channel next year. So that's what the Savvy Stoic will be. It'll be videos on Stoicism, but it'll also be like I'm going to set myself little challenges and then show how I'm using Stoicism to get through them challenges. It's also going to be a website, so I'll have longer form content on the blog. But it's just my brand. It's who I am. I am the Savvy Stoic, and it's what I love about Stoicism. So I'm really excited about next year for building the brand more.
Oh, can't wait. We've got only 10 days left.
I know. It'll be a year, but yeah.
Yeah. So could you tell me what made you interested in Stoicism?
So I'd never heard about Stoicism until I'm guessing a lot of people would have heard of Tim Ferriss. Have you ever heard of him? He's
Yes.
he's an entrepreneur, but he's also an investor. And he's been interested in Stoicism for quite a while. And he posted a video on his YouTube channel that talks all about what Stoicism is and how you can apply it to your life. So I liked his content. I watched his video, and in that video, he talks about Seneca's letters to Lucilius. So Seneca was one of the 3 main Stoic philosophers, and I'd never heard about Stoicism, but I trust Tim Ferriss, and I downloaded the audiobook and I listened to it, and it was quite hard to get into because it's from the Roman period, so it's quite late. Old, sorry. It was just such a different world from what I knew about. But at the time, so 2017, the back end was when I got interested in it. I was going through some personal stuff. My mum wasn't very well, and I was going back and from her house every day. So I used to stick a podcast in or sort of ride on my BMX. So it's one of the two. And during that time, I was listening to Seneca's letters while I was walking over to see her every day. And it was stressful. She wasn't very well. Obviously, it was quite trying times. And them letters just helped us deal with everything. It took us away from the stress and the pain and the anxiety that I was going through, and helped us realize that everyone's gone through problems in their life. It doesn't matter what time or period it is, you're always going to find struggle. But that was my first introduction to Stoicism. So I found it at a time when I was struggling personally. So I think that's why it resonated with us so much, and that's how I first found Stoicism. So I have Tim Ferriss to thank for that, which is good.
When you see him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you are a student and study philosophy. Was it before you discovered Stoicism or after?
So I've always been interested in philosophy, but not like I am now. And studying Stoicism, so like I kind of self-taught myself Stoicism since finding it, but I didn't like study philosophy academically before that. Stoicism kind of influenced my decision to go back to university and study philosophy. And it's quite funny because academic philosophy is completely different to this practical side of Stoicism that I love. So some of the philosophy that I study is actually quite boring in comparison to the Stoicism that I love. But I don't just study philosophy. So I'm part of the Combined Honours Department at Newcastle University, and I do business, classics and philosophy. So that means I only really take 2 philosophy modules for the whole year. So I'm not like a normal philosophy student who has quite a broad range of what they study. I just kind of get little bits and pick my modules and piece them all together, which can be a bit difficult sometimes because I have gaps in my knowledge, but I can deal with that and it's fine. But Stoicism definitely influenced my decision to go back to university and study it. Yeah, like it's just kind of an anchor. It's something that guides us through life. It's my compass that I can always lean on. So yeah, it definitely influenced my decision to study philosophy in the broader sense.
Because that's something you can control.
Yes, it is. Control, which is very important for Stoicism.
Yeah. So could you tell us where you're based and
So
a little bit background?
Yeah, sure. So I live in South Shields, which is a little coastal town. You know where it is in the northeast, and I've lived here my whole life. So I've pretty much, I'm 23 now. I'll be 24 next year, and I currently live with my partner. So we live really close to the seafront, which is perfect because it means we can walk the dogs along the lays and the seafront, and it's a really pretty little town to live in. So I've lived here my whole life. I've grew up with 2 older brothers, so I'm the only girl of the family. I'm also the baby of the family, so I guess I'm annoying in that sense to them. But yeah, like I've lived here my whole life, and I live with my partner now. I have 2 dogs. We love walking and going out in nature, going on camping trips, stuff like that. And obviously I'm a student, so before doing the degree that I'm doing now, I was doing a real estate degree because I actually thought I wanted to be a chartered surveyor. So I went in Northumbria after studying business for 2 years at Sunderland College. I really enjoyed my college years, awesome friends. I had some really great memories made from that. And then I decided to go to Northumbria University and study real estate. I'd done a year and I kind of realised I hated it. So I had a choice. I had to either continue with it and pay £9,000 a year to do a degree that I really didn't like, or I could drop out. And I asked my partner, I talked about it with him, and he was really supportive. So he said, if you want to drop out, you can drop out, and I'll support you for a year, which was really nice because he kind of paid for me to live for a year while I kind of thought about what I wanted to do and what I needed to do. And that year ended up turning into 2 years because I didn't know what I wanted to do. But that's when I created epoch.pet. So that's my pet wellness website that I post about quite a broad range of topics. I post about homemade pet treats, raw feeding. So all my dogs and cat are raw fed, which is a natural diet. There's 2 types. You've got BARF, which is biologically appropriate raw feeding, or you've got pre-model raw. So that's the 2 types for raw feeding. And basically that consists of just feeding your pet a raw meat diet. So there's no nasty chemicals or preservatives or fillers in the food, which was really important to us. So on the blog, I post a lot about that. I also do pet treat reviews and also toy reviews. So there's a really broad range of things on there. There's also a little e-commerce store, which is kind of it's just affiliate links, but it's like the products that I love and use. So that's done really well this year. And before going to uni, I was actually going to set up an e-commerce store to go alongside that. And I spent about 6 months working away, planning, going to the BIC Centre in Sunderland. So that was amazing. I got a free business advisor. And then I went on a Boost Your Business residential course, and that's where I met Ian Farah, and then kind of got introduced to the business community in the Northeast. And it was just epoch.pet kind of started this whole journey, I'd say. And I started that after dropping out from my real estate degree because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I had to do something. So starting that creative thing has got me to this point now. So it's been an amazing journey the last few years. And now I have the Savvy Stoic to look forward to starting and doing that all over again. So it's been a few years of pivoting. Like I wouldn't say I've felt like I know where I'm going, but I've been open to the opportunities around us. And I think that's made a massive difference. So yeah, I feel like I'm in a good place now, which is really nice.
That's fantastic to know. The thing is, we have surrounded this beautiful community that always support and helps each other. Is that right? So I can see Paul Lancaster here, Anne English, Ian Farrow, and they are all based in Newcastle. And I have a few comments here. Paul says, watch now. Really love hearing Katie.
Can it be Paul? He's a fellow Stoic.
Anne English. And Ian's here as well.
Down a second because I'm being blinded.
Yes, lovely to have you here, guys. And hi, Jan. Loved your live show this morning.
I have so much to thank for it. Like everyone in this business community has been amazing, to be honest. And I think community is key. It's just, especially this year, we haven't been able to meet up in person or do the things that we've wanted to do. But having Zoom and having online conversations like this has made such a difference. So I think that's what matters.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Is that the
sorted?
Yeah, sorted, right. I was going to ask, we talked, you mentioned about the things we can control and things we cannot control. And this COVID, people's mental health is very badly affected at the moment.
Yeah.
What would be, how can you see from the person as a practice Stoicism?
So obviously, like you say, COVID's been incredibly difficult from a personal standpoint, but also a business standpoint. It's affected all people. I'm really grateful that I haven't lost anyone due to COVID. It's obviously I've heard of people who have, and it's heartbreaking that is the case. But having a stoic mindset throughout this has definitely helped me massively. And it's going back to what we started talking about. So separating what we do control from what we don't control. So we don't control that we found ourselves in a pandemic. We don't control whether we lose someone. We don't control whether we get COVID. But what we do control is how we react to that situation. So are you taking care of yourself mentally? Like, are you doing things that help you? So for me, I meditate, I journal, I read the Daily Stoic every day, a little page a day book. There's little habits that are so essential to creating a positive space around you, because that's all you control. You create what you do and how you react to the situation. So once you stop getting so caught up on external things, which you have no control over whatsoever, apart from how you react to that situation, that gives you a lot of autonomy and freedom to move forward with whatever life throws at you. And it's going to throw everything it has at you. Like this, hopefully next year isn't going to be how this year has gone. Hopefully we can meet up. Hopefully we can have a normal Christmas next year and spend so much more time with our friends and family. But there's a possibility that that might not be the case. And a Stoic is okay with that. We accept that things might not go to plan, and if they don't go to plan, that's perfectly fine, because we accept it and we'll move forward, and we'll realize that all we have is how I react to that situation. So I have a quote from Epictetus, which we talked about before going live, and there's something called Epictetus's dichotomy of control. And it's what we've been talking about so far. So it's probably the most simplest task when it comes to Stoicism. And it really is just separating what you do control from what you don't control. So I'll read this quote out and then talk about it in a little bit more detail. But it says, "The chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control and which have to do with the choices I actually control." So going back to what I said before, external events, we're all in a pandemic. That's an external event. We do not control that event. All we control is how we react to that event. So you can apply that to anything in life, any external thing. You can apply this dichotomy of control to, and then it allows you to get bothered about the things that you should get bothered about, the things that you can change, the things that actually matter. And it just makes life so much easier. So I'd say that's one of the most simplest things that people can learn about to apply Stoicism to their lives. There is other things that they can do, but that's just a core tenet of Stoic philosophy.
Interesting. Very interesting. So what does Stoicism say about reality?
So it says that there's many things, and boil it down to a less academic thing. But so the Stoics split the Stoic philosophy into three disciplines. So you've got physics, ethics, and logic. So what we're talking about today is the ethics. It's how should I live, kind of how can I make my life a bit better. And the Stoics say about reality that it's all rational. So you don't have any irrational part of your soul as far as the Stoics go. And this is something that I'm not sure I agree with. I'm definitely irrational sometimes, but as best I try and be rational, sometimes I'm not there. But the Stoics believe that you don't have any irrational part of your soul. So for the Stoics, you are fully rational. Your nature is rational. And they believe that the universe, so reality, I suppose, the cosmos, is governed by something called the logos. And it's a very hard term to translate from Greek because it can have different meanings. So the etymology in English is quite hard to convey what it means. But it's like, for the Stoics, I suppose you could say it's ruling rational nature. So going back to that rationality aspect of Stoicism, that is what the Stoics are interested in, is living in accordance with nature. So living in accordance with your rational nature and also with the nature of the universe, because you have to understand the universe in order to move through it in a productive way. And there's four virtues that are just so important when it comes to the Stoics. So I have a little coin. I don't know where I've put it. Oh, here it is. I've got 8 coins, so I've got so many. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this.
Yeah.
So this is a little coin. Then
yes,
it has,
yeah. Try not to exchange them for others.
Yep. So that's a quote from Marcus Aurelius, and this is a coin from the Daily Stoic Store, and it says courage, temperance, justice, and wisdom. So for the Stoics, these are 4 virtues which you should always live in accordance with. So every situation I find myself in, I choose what virtue I should apply to that situation. So courage is really important because you have to be courageous in life. You have to know when to stand up for the right things, when to be brave, when to say the things that others may not say. And then justice is doing the right thing. So Marcus Aurelius has a quote, and it's just that you do the right thing. The rest doesn't matter. So in every situation, you should just be just. You should do the right thing as best you can. Then there's temperance, so moderation. And you have to know how much of what virtue to apply in a certain situation. And then there's wisdom, so being wise, knowing what to do, having the knowledge of what to do. And for the Stoics, all of these interlinked. You cannot really have one virtue without the other. They kind of all go together. And for the Stoics, it's all about living in accordance with virtue. That is their aim. So living in accordance with virtue. Yes, but virtue as a whole as well. Yeah. So that's what it's about. It's about living in accordance with those virtues. And by doing so, you will live a happy life. So there's other ancient schools of philosophy, but for the Stoics, it is about living in accordance with virtue, but that will take you to having a happy life. So Epictetus's dichotomy of control and then four virtues are massively important when it comes to this philosophy.
Interesting. We've got a question from Jan. How can people find out about Stoicism? I'm sure. And how can people start? What was your journey like? You said you will listen lots of audiobooks whilst you're walking, and what was the next step?
So I started off with that video that I said about Tim Ferriss, and then after that, I downloaded Seneca's letters, and then I kind of just re-listened to Seneca's letters for a little while. But to answer the question there, how can people kind of find out and delve into Stoicism a little bit more? I delved into the Daily Stoic. So these have a YouTube channel, they have a podcast, they have a daily email. Their content is what really kind of upped my Stoic journey. I started listening to them every day. I started reading as much as I could about it. And they're just amazing. The quality of the content they put out is fantastic. Like all of these prints behind me are from the Daily Stoic. All of my coins are from the Daily Stoic. So they don't just create audio content, they create physical reminders that you can carry around with you to remember these Stoic virtues and practices. So for anyone wanting to get into it, the Daily Stoic was how I learned so much about Stoicism. And then I got other books. So after that, I got Meditations, which is, if anyone wants, like, this is probably the book that I would recommend the most. I would recommend the Daily Stoic, but this book has changed my life. This is the quote that we talked about today at the start. This is where it's from. And the Meditations is just an amazing book. So it's by Marcus Aurelius, who was a Roman emperor. And I don't know if he would class himself as a Stoic. He definitely is a Stoic. But this book was never meant to be published. It's his journal. It's his diary. And then it was published. And it's all these little notes to himself about everything. It's about debts and lessons, things he's learned from people, these thoughts about death, these thoughts about just everyday people. Like sometimes it's really funny to read passages because he's talking about how it's hard to get up in the morning, or how you should expect to deal with moody and ignorant people and not very nice people, and how people's breath smells. There's just really funny things in this book that you wouldn't think a Roman emperor would be dealing with. So that is an amazing book that I'd recommend. And then Ryan Holiday, who is the creator of the Daily Stoic, has loads of books on Stoicism. So The Obstacle is the Way is an amazing book. Stillness is the Key. Ego is the Enemy. There's so much content out there. So kind of I just started delving into as many books as I could find. How to Think Like a Roman Emperor is amazing as well, by Donald Robinson. So just start with the Daily Stoic and then go from there, because there's endless amounts of content out there that you can delve into.
Okay, that's great. Daily Stoic, because because I am interviewing you today. I looked today's Daily Stoic. And so if we open the page, I don't know, page like today's date. So I think it's page 382.
Yeah, well, it's the 20th of December, so it's 376. This book's a little bit different from mine because I've got the latest one. But I have, so today's passage, this theme for December is all on memento mori, which is a Latin phrase, and it's remember you will die, or remember you must die. So it's all about, it's one of my favorite Stoic concepts. It's quite morbid, to be honest, but there's a lot of value within it, to be honest. I have
Today's is the fear of death.
Yes, it is. So I have a little coin here, memento mori, and then it's you could leave life right now. And then that's apart from a bigger Stoic quote from Marcus Aurelius, where he says, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. So today's quote is, fear the fear of death. Do you then ponder how the supreme of human evils, the surest mark of the base and cowardly, is not death, but the fear of death? I urge you to discipline yourself against such fear. Direct all your thinking, exercises, and reading the way, and you will know the only path to human freedom. Epictetus Discourses. So how many people are scared of death? I'm not even going to lie, like it's a petrifying thing. It's scary. The point of human life is to keep going and progressing forward. We want to survive, but we're all born with a terminal illness. Like, some people just get a definition on what that terminal illness is, but we are all born waiting to die. And the Stoic concept behind memento mori isn't meant to add to that fear. It's meant to try and dissolve that fear. It's meant to make you realize that if you contemplate your mortality, you will appreciate every single day on this earth so much more than just if you ignore such a fact. So I've been through a lot in my life. I've lost both my parents by the age of 20. I lost a close friend by the age of 17. And it's something that I've learned to see the benefits in. And some people might think that's weird or sounds odd, but what I get from this Stoic principle is that I've realized that people die and you lose the people you love. So every single person in my life who matters to me, whether it's a friend or whether it's a family member or whether it's my partner and his family, who I consider to be my family, it helps us love them so much more, because I know that I might not wake up tomorrow and they might not wake up tomorrow. So every single second I get to spend around them, it's so important. So it's not about being morbid. It's about realizing the importance of life and finding gratitude in the fact that you will die. It's honestly one of my favorite Stoic principles. I have this here, which kind of stares at us while I do work. It's like it's a skeleton and a crossbow, and he's a little glass at the bottom, and it stares us in the face when I do work. It makes us realize that I need to focus, because this second right now might be my last second. And I don't think enough people think about death in the way that we should think about death. There's value to be found within it if you look hard enough.
Yeah, it is very interesting, because I remember watching you on Newcastle Startup Week.
Yeah, that was my first video.
Yeah, and that was amazing, fascinating. And I wanted to see what's the Stoicism all about. And personally, I felt the subjects for some of them, like today's passage, it was quite heavy.
Yeah.
And I understand the meaning behind it. It's so true. But the way it expressed it was too heavy.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. A lot of people can be... Sorry, what were you going to say?
Yeah, and yeah, that was, it is a very personal thing.
Yeah. It's massively personal, but I agree, a lot of people can be put off philosophy because they can think, well, I'm not an academic, or I'm not a philosophy student. And Stoicism is the most practical philosophy out there, especially in terms of ancient philosophy. And it can be heavy, but if you start with the Daily Stoic, like, that's just what I just put out, a little passage from a philosopher, and then it's got a commentary underneath, so it kind of it breaks it down more in modern day language. So you get your head around the terminology after you've spent a few years kind of reading it and getting to depths with it, definitely. But I think finding it when you need to find it. So going back to what we said, I found it when my mum wasn't very well and I was struggling. That helps. So I think maybe you can come to Stoicism when your life's amazing and everything's going perfect, and I would definitely recommend that. But it helps to go when you're struggling a little bit as well.
Yeah, I get it. Yes. because the thing I was following were thought become things.
It's the
And
micro, isn't it?
yeah, so it's thought become things. And then if I follow that, and then I look at the today's passage, and that's reminding me that value my every day, every hour, every minute of my life. But at the
Definitely.
same time, it is reminding me because you're going to die. And I kind of, it clashed a little bit in my end. Yeah.
Yeah, well, how many things do you get, like, how many little things do we get worried about on a daily basis? Like, it's so easy to get caught up in everyday troubles, isn't it? And big troubles. But if in the face of death, what is that? Where do they go?
Nowhere. It's nothing really. It's just tiniest things. So we got a comment from Laura.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to have someone in your life.
Yeah, it's really important that whether it's someone, it's a philosophy, it's a religion, it's personal values, isn't it? You need something to guide you through life. And that's what Stoicism is for me and many other people around the world. It's becoming a lot more popular. And it's just amazing to have a framework to rely on. That's what it is for me. It's a framework that I can rely on and apply to any situation or any circumstance. That's actually my best friend Jazz. I love her a bit. She's amazing.
Yeah. So she's into Stoicism as well.
I got it was her birthday at the 2nd of December, and I got a daily Stoic and some other gifts. So that was a good gift, I think. But yeah, she's definitely getting a little bit more into philosophy. She loves poetry, so she's done an undergrad and she's doing a PhD at the minute. Yeah.
An attitude of gratitude.
I'm very grateful for everything. Stoicism, the people in my life, Ian, Paul, everyone, just everyone makes a massive difference.
Absolutely. So how do you motivate yourself like through all this? Does
Yeah.
Stoicism have that bit?
So Stoicism is a big help, but there's a lot of other little healthy habits that I do. So journaling, I journal every day. It's quite an important Stoic practice. Seneca talks about it, how he starts the day journaling, and then when his wife goes to bed at night, he writes about how the day's gone and reviews the day. So that's one of my main habits. I also meditate, so I use an app called Headspace, which I'm sure a lot of people would have heard about, and that's amazing because you can pick like 3-minute meditations, 10-minute meditations. You can really tailor it to the day, so that helps us get rid of distractions, kind of get my head in the right place. I love yoga. So that's kind of getting your body moving instead of just sitting in a chair and meditating. That really, really helps. Going on walks. A lot of philosophers seem to love walks. They always talk about it. But just going on walks in nature with my dogs, or whether it's by myself, and sometimes I listen to an audiobook, sometimes I don't, but it's just being outside, that feeling when you're in awe of your surroundings. I love that. Audiobooks, music. I don't think I could live without music. Like I love music. It makes such a difference. And people, like I just love speaking to people. Like I think I'm a bit of an introvert, but that feeling you get from having a good conversation with someone, for me, is one of the best feelings in the world. Like having Zoom over this pandemic has been just an essential, because the amount of times I've had an amazing just Zoom call with someone and left and felt so much better than when I first started. So I'd say people, places, just healthy habits, all of those motivators, and creating a good environment. So this is my home office, and you cannot see all the prints behind us, but this whole wall is covered in Stoic prints, and this is my place where I walk in and I know this is the place I get work done. This is the place I sit and meditate, and it's just my zone. It's my zone where I motivate myself and I do the things that I want to do. And when that door's closed, people know like Katie's doing her thing, which is quite nice. Just have a productive work environment or a safe space where you can do the things that matter to you, that gets you motivated. So yeah, that's everything really.
Yeah. And so who was the best teacher in your life? Because it's a maybe a bit strange question when you're talking about loads of Stoicism. That's what you follow. But if I ask you as a teacher,
So I think I'm going to have to give you a few different things here. But so obviously Stoicism, that's a really good a good teacher, because there's so many things that we've talked about that's helped us. But I'd say probably, if I'm going to say a person, it would have been my dad. So he obviously passed away when I was 11, but he had cancer, and not once did he ever show it. Like, not, it sounds silly, but I went to the hospital with him to get chemo and stuff like that. But when you're so young, you don't put two and two together. But not once did he ever show his battles. He was such a courageous man. And obviously courage for the Stoics it's one of the 4 virtues. It's massively important. So I'd say my dad, for me, I can look back and remember him in that strong, courageous sense. And I hope that I have some of that in me. And I think I do. But he is just an amazing teacher. Like, when I was younger, he was always ill. And when I was kind of a toddler, he had a triple heart bypass, and the doctor told him not to pick us up because he wasn't allowed to do like heavy lifting or anything. And apparently he just didn't listen, because I always loved to be carried. I was just like a little girl that always loved to be carried, and he would just pick us up regardless of the doctor's orders. And there's just little memories that I love, I hold on to. And yeah, I'd say my dad was probably the best teacher that I've had in my life, and still to this date.
It's such a happy memories, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got to hold on to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So you love motorbiking.
Yeah.
And then for a girl, I feel that's a so cool thing to do. How did you start?
So it's funny. I always wanted a little Vespa. I'm not sure if anyone's seen them, but it's like a little moped. It's just a little Italian bike. It's quite cute. But I forgot about that. And my partner, he really wanted to learn to ride a motorbike. I wasn't that bothered about it. But he was like, well, I'm going to learn to ride a motorbike. And I was like, well, if you're learning to ride a motorbike, then I want to learn to ride a motorbike, because we can do it together. So in October, not last year, but the year before, we're done with CBT. So that's with compulsory basic training. That was a test of Stoicism. Now, I'd been like on a bike for about 2 hours of my life. And then you do this 8-hour course where you're in a parking lot, you kind of get taught what to do, you practice with the bike, and then you get chucked out into the city centre in Sunderland or wherever you're doing it. And like, I was so scared. I stalled at every stop. Like, people were honking at us because I just couldn't move forward. And I was honestly about to chuck the towel in. And we'll have like a headcom system where it's the instructor can talk to you, but you cannot talk to them. So I was going around Sunderland city centre just like saying Marcus Aurelius's quote to us. I was like, the obstacle is the way, Katie, because if I had said that I was going to stop there and then, I would have had to do that whole course over again. So I was like, I am doing this. And I got through the day. I managed to pass. And then, so like then we'd done a big trip to Kielder in September. And that was my first big drive. And that was so scary as well, because we had loads of camping gear on and we're going down the A roads. And that was like my first big roads. And it was so scary, but it's so fun. It's like living life right in front of your face, because you have to be in flow. You have to be in that moment. Otherwise, if you're not, but you know what it's like to drive. If you're not focusing, you're going to crash. Something bad's going to happen. So it's so fun. Like on a lovely summer's day, when you're just cruising along and you're just enjoying the environment, the situation, it's one of the best things I've ever learned to do. I absolutely love it. Obviously, I haven't been out this winter because it's not even that bad weather, but I haven't had time to go out, to be honest. But bring on the spring and summer, I'm going to spend so much time on my little bike. I love it. It's class.
What's the feeling like? Because you drive, don't you? It must be much more freedom than driving, because you're not in a box.
I actually don't drive a car. So like drive a motorbike was, I think when I do come to learn to drive a car, it's going to be so much easier, because I think I'm going to be quite a considerate driver, because I know how scary it is to not be inside a car, to not have that safety around you. And
safety.
Yeah. But it's just like, it's so fun. It is really scary, but it's one of the best things I've ever done. I mean, when I go back to uni, I'm not sure if I'm going back this year, because it looks like a lot of my second year might be online, like it has been so far. But if I do go back, I'm just going to ride on the motorbike as opposed to getting the metro. So that'll be some good practice, kind of getting used to it a lot more. So yeah, maybe get a good trip in next year, going somewhere, I don't know.
So you stay in that moment when you ride in a motorbike.
Yeah, you have to, but it's just bliss. Like, you just, hours can go by and you can be like, how on earth did this much time pass? It's just so fun.
Yeah, so no text driving.
No, no, I still have a death wish. That's not.
Yeah, so I just want to discuss your favorite quote.
Yeah.
Objective judgment now this very moment, and selfish action now at this very moment, will and acceptance now at this very moment of all external events. That's all you need.
So this quote is from my favorite book, Meditations, Marcus Aurelius, which we just talked about. And I don't think you're going to find a better quote that embodies what Stoicism is. So there's three disciplines to Stoicism. So the first one is perception. So that is objective judgment now at this very moment. So that is your perception. How do you see this situation? How do you perceive this situation? For the Stoics, they didn't consider anything as good or bad. It was more a preferred indifference. So health is preferred to sickness, but it's fine if you're in either. Wealth is preferred to poverty, but it's fine if you're in either. So like, your perception of a situation shapes everything. So if you look at it in an objective way and don't add any subjective value judgments, you don't say, oh, this is great or this is bad. Shakespeare has a quote, and I think it's neither good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And that's Stoic in a sense, because it's how you perceive the situation. So perception is the first discipline. And then you have action. So action is, can you move forward with directed action in a situation? It's you control whether you act towards something or whether you move away from something. So that's the second discipline. And then you have will. So everyone has an internal will. And that's what you rely on when all agency in a situation has gone. So do you know when you hear about horrific stories about, say, POWs or someone just surviving some really traumatic event, and you're like, how did they get through that? You relied on the internal will. So that's what you rely on when you don't have any agency. You kind of control the situation. You just have willing acceptance. I am here and I am going to accept that I am here. So that quote embodies what Stoicism is. It encompasses the three main disciplines, and it reminds me how a Stoic should act, how I should act in that situation. And it also has Epictetus's dichotomy of control, because it says of all external events. So you cannot find a better quote of what Stoicism is. So that's why I love it. It was really hard to pick a quote. Like, honestly, Suki, I think that was one of the most hardest questions anyone's ever. Like, I love quotes. I have them all around us. So I had like this long list, and I was like, but that one's the best for embodying what Stoicism is.
Amazing. What does Stoicism say to find about yourself?
So what does it say about just being an individual, sort of?
Yes, because if like everyone's in finding themselves first, isn't it?
Okay,
So what's what do they say about it?
It's kind of, the Stoics believe that if you live in accordance with Stoicism, you're going to reach self-sufficiency. So you're going to be independent. You're going to be able to rely on yourself. One of my favorite things about Stoicism, it's also my favorite, but it's something that I really struggle to come to terms with, is that the Stoics believe that you cannot blame other people. So do you know when you kind of get frustrated and you're like, oh, my partner made us feel this way, or so-and-so made us feel this way. The Stoics say, no, you made yourself feel that way. So that was something I really struggled to come to terms with. But it's just, it's quite a hard question to answer, because I feel like next year I'm really going to delve into it a lot more. But so far, it's just been my personal journey. So it's just been the things that I've learned about, and I feel like I'm lacking maybe a lot of the knowledge that I need to have. But next year I'm just going to focus on kind of reading as much as I can and listening to all the other things that I haven't done so far, and then sharing that on the YouTube channel. But the belief sort of, if you follow this philosophy, you're going to become a lot more independent and have a happy life, because you will be self-sufficient. You won't rely on anyone. You won't rely on external things. You won't rely on other people. You will rely on yourself to create a happy life. And that's why I love it so much. There's many reasons I love it, but it's one of the best things, I think.
Absolutely, because we have that power within us.
It's all within. Once you realize that, it makes everything easier. So there's I did have a quote somewhere, and it was from Zeno, but I don't know where it is. Zeno's, right, here it is. So Zeno was the founder of the school, and that was like the founder of Stoicism. And he had this story. Apparently he washed up in Athens. He was a wealthy merchant. He had a shipwreck. So the school was founded on a disaster. And then he learned lots about philosophy. He practiced with other people for 20 years, and then he founded his own school. So that's who founded Stoicism. And this quote says, well-being is realized by small steps, but it is truly no small thing. So all of them little habits and things that I talk about, they add up to all these tiny small steps. Reading the Daily Stoic every day, all of the little things that I do, they add up. They're small steps, but well-being is truly no small step. It takes so much to get there. And that quote is just, I love it because it's from the founder of the school. We have so little words from him. We've got fragments from the early Stoics. And it's a wonderful quote. Like when people start delving into it, they'll read quotes and just reread them. That's what I do, because I'm like, oh my gosh, that is amazing. It's wonderful.
Yeah, so basically greatest wealth is a health.
Definitely.
With no health, you are just basically nothing, really, is it?
Yeah.
So it's nearly 11:50. I would like to ask you a few questions to get to know you better. So what's the best gift you've ever given?
Oh, that's a tough question. And this is actually a funny one. So my partner knows what he's getting this year for Christmas, so I'm not going to spoil his gift right now. But I'm going to have to say it's the gift I've gotten this year. So there's so many awesome products on the Daily Stoic. He's not really into Stoicism that much, but I love it. And there's this ring that they only do for men. And it's this beautiful gold ring with a memento mori stamp on. And it's got Marcus Aurelius's words engraved on the inside. And it says, you could leave life right now. So I got him this beautiful gold ring that's like from the Daily Stoic store that I'm giving him this year for Christmas. So I'm going to have to say that is probably the best gift I am yet to give, but we'll give it soon.
Oh, that's so nice. So what's the coolest thing you've ever done?
Probably
the motorbiking.
that is quite cool.
So cool for me. Yeah, that's just so cool for me.
That is really cool, but I'm going to have to say my spontaneous 3-week trip to Australia with my best friend Jazz. Like, I had about 2 weeks to decide. Like, I just decided I was going to go with it.
3 weeks.
So, well, she was going to meet up with some family, and she asked us like a little while ago, like before I decided to go, she was like, do you want to come with us? And I was like, I don't think I've got the money. I don't think I can. And then I thought about it and I felt like I was really going to miss out. So it came to like 2 weeks before flying. She had booked our tickets and everything. And I was like, Jazz, I think I want to come with you. And she was like, what? I've booked my flights already. So I had to like run to the I can't remember what it's called, the holiday place. And I was like, is there any spare seats on this plane to try and get the right place? I managed to get a seat right next to her. But that was not the most planned trip, but one of the funnest things we've ever done. We've done 2 weeks in Melbourne, 2 weeks in Sydney, and then 1 week in Melbourne. And it was just, I've never experienced so much craziness in my life. Like we went so many places. We met up with absolute strangers, but it was one of the best things I've ever done. So many happy memories.
Oh, that sounds so awesome, you know. And the thing is, we always say, you don't have that, I haven't booked holiday, I don't have enough money, da 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 da. Lots of things. Like when we really want to do it, we can do anything we want. It's all
Yeah.
there.
But I was just making excuses, I think. I was a bit worried. I'm not the best with flying. Like I've get better with saying I don't enjoy flying now, but it makes us quite anxious. And
Yeah.
so that was probably one of the biggest reasons. But it definitely the coolest thing I've ever done. Absolutely amazing.
So, it sounds like so cool. Yeah. So Paul says, one of the best gifts anyone has given me is the obstacles is the way.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool gift, Paul. You're the only, to be honest, you're the first person I ever give a Stoic gift to. So yeah, it was a good gift. I'm glad you like it.
The next year, there will be a lot of people following you.
Yeah.
The Savvy Stoic learning from you. And yeah. What do you cook better than anyone?
So I make a really good homemade pizza, and I don't just do normal pizza, it's like fermented. So I do a cold fermented pizza dough. So what you do is you make the pizza dough, you put it in like a big pan or whatever you've got, but it's got to be quite big because it makes like 8 pizzas in one go. And then you leave it out overnight for 24 hours to ferment, and then you put it in the fridge for a week. So it's like a cold fermented dough, and then it's got the best flavor because the yeast has had time to ferment and the air bubbles. It's one of the best things ever. 1 year I made it, and then my partner made a slow cooked barbecue beef rib, and we had that on top. Best pizza I've ever had in my life. It was amazing.
How long does it take, did you say? Because if I want to have pizza, I have to.
Well, yeah, it's a labor of love. It takes a while, but honestly, it's worth the wait. Like, you're not going to beat pizza. And so it's about, you can eat it like the day after if you want. You don't have to ferment it for 7 days, but 7 days was the best I've ever tried. It's amazing.
Would you say longer is better?
Yeah,
Would you?
within reason. So I wouldn't go past like, I don't know, I've never gone past a week. So it might be horrible after a certain time, but yeah.
All right. We're talking about the food. What's the most unusual thing you've ever eaten? Because you've been in Australia for 3 weeks. Have you had the chance to get any of them?
So I was a really fussy kid growing up. Like I didn't eat much. Well, I ate much, but like I ate curry and sort of basic things. Like I didn't really eat many weird things. Australia, I didn't really have anything weird apart from like sugar cane juice, which wasn't eaten because it was a drink. But I'll probably say like I really haven't ate that many weird things. Maybe a pig's head. Like I had like a cooked pig's head, which was lush. Like it was like cooked in a wood oven, and it was really nice. But that's probably the weirdest thing I can think of right now was a pig's head, which isn't weird.
Yeah, because isn't it like the people used to eat pig's head?
It's delicious.
Like for really Christmas and the celebrations.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah. Oh, sounds awesome. So, what makes you laugh the most?
So pets, Like animals do
Oh.
the funniest things in the world. Like I have my morning cup of tea in the sitting room. It makes us laugh just thinking about it. And I've got two dogs. So I've got a little border terrier she's smaller than my staff Gibble terrier. And my little border terrier, I'll have like say like a rope toy or something. She'll bite it, and then the staffy will bite onto it. And Naya, the staffy, will lie on her back, and Lily will pull her around the rug, despite Lily's like half a size of Naya. It's just so funny to watch while I'm having my morning cup of tea. So probably pets. They just do hilarious things, like just really funny things. Pets and funny people, like spending time with my partner. He makes us laugh a lot, and just funny people and pets. Yeah.
Yeah, just reminded me, what is that program called? The people send their very short clips, and they are full of animals, aren't they? Animals and pets.
Is it you've been framed? Is that
Oh,
one?
yes, I think so. Yeah.
I've never watched that in forever, but I feel like that might be the name. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. If you were a superhero, which you already are, what superpower would you have?
So I thought about this earlier because I knew you were going to ask us this one question. And like I
Superhero.
feel like I could have a million answers to this one, and then I settled on something that I feel like is a good answer. So mine would be to always know what the right thing to do in any situation would be. So like to always know what the right thing to do in any situation and be able to convey that to someone else. So I could answer any question and solve the world's problems then. So if like there's some politician that needed some answer to know what to do, I would just have the knowledge to know what the right thing to do in any situation would be. That's
Wow. That's
I,
very cool.
that's what I came up with, because it would eliminate so much stress in life. If someone had a problem, or like I'd be really busy, could everyone would ask us like, Katie, what should I do for this, or what should I do for this? But it would solve a lot of the world's problems if you knew what the right thing to do was. So that would probably be my superpower.
Interesting. Very interesting.
I thought about that one for a long time.
Yeah, it's really making me think now. So, have I missed any questions? What the question you always wanted to answer, but no one ever asked?
I don't think. See, I'm not like the type of person that likes to be a center of attention, or likes to like kind of get asked that many things. So I'm not too sure. Like I've never thought about a question that I would like someone to ask us. I don't think I have one. I really don't.
You know, yeah, because some people are getting interviewed like a lot, maybe perhaps, yeah. But it's always a good question to ask, in my opinion,
Yeah.
because maybe people have something that they really want to talk about, but
Yeah.
then not right moment or time.
I'm not sure. Maybe what does Stoicism mean to you? But I suppose we've covered that. Like it literally is my compass to guide through life. It's what I'm going to focus on next year. It's what I love. It's what makes us me. And I strive to be the best person that I can be because of it. So yeah, I suppose that one.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about next year, coming years.
Yeah.
What's the plan?
So I have three things that I really want to do. First, the Savvy Stoic. So like I want to get the YouTube channel up. I will get the YouTube channel up. It's not I want to, I will. So I'm hoping to do that by maybe March. Like that would be a good time to kind of do that, because I'm doing a module for university, which is a project module, and in that I create the Savvy Stoic. So I'm going to create the website, and then I'm going to create the YouTube channel, and that'll go towards my degree. So that's top of the list. Then I want to travel. So if I really, really hope that like traveling's allowed and the world's a bit more normal next year, because I want to do a 2-month solo trip interrailing around Europe, and I want to record the whole thing. I want to put content out there, but I want to answer some questions, and kind of get to know myself a bit better. So Socrates said that unexamined life is not worth living. I completely agree with him. And I just want
what life not worth living?
the unexamined life is not worth living. So I just want to kind of spend some time by myself. I'm quite independent, but I've never spent a night in another country by myself, or even here. Like, I've never traveled to, say, York or Edinburgh somewhere and spent a night by myself. So I think I need that independence. I need to kind of answer questions, and I don't even know what all the questions are yet, but I'm just going to spend 2 months getting to know myself and experiencing as many cultures, people, and places as I possibly can. And then the third thing is focus on epoch.pet. So it's done really well this year. Like, my views and visitors have been through the roof, but I haven't had the time to focus on it like I did when I started, and that's because of my studies and everything else that I do, trying to juggle like the Savvy Stoic, epoch.pet, and my studies alongside normal life is just really hard. So I want to try and get a routine down where I can put them 3 things in and kind of move forward and have a much better year. This year's been good, but next year is going to be the year of the Savvy Stoic and everything else.
Amazing. I just can't wait.
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be such an exciting project.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So yeah, thank you for this opportunity, because it's been lovely to talk about it.
Oh, you're welcome. I will have you anytime, however many times you want.
Returns next year.
Yeah, after your big travel, and we can have another conversation.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That was wonderful.
Yeah, okay, so it's nearly 12 o'clock, and I just wanted to say thanks so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on I'mPossible Conversation, and today is my last interview for this year, and I would like to thank for everyone who tuned in. Merry Christmas, and
have a wonderful Christmas, everyone. You too, Suki. Thank you. This has been amazing.
Thank you. Right. Thanks very much, guys. We'll see you again. Bye.